This week, we saw a humiliating final act in the American experiment on Afghanistan. US military planes took off from Kabul as the hands of desperate Afghans tried to latch onto them. We saw images of them scaling up walls to escape. We saw harrowing videos of their bodies falling on the tarmac. We saw parents handing over their children to complete strangers. The world hung its head in shame. But in Washington, there was no sign of remorse.
You don't think this could have been handled, this actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
We're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens.
It's a cold-hearted betrayal, one that should weigh heavily on American conscience, because this unfolding tragedy is a collective failure shared by generations of US presidents, policymakers, and military commanders. They helped create the monster of the Taliban, and after 20 years of failing to control it, they have unleashed it back on the people of Afghanistan. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay, and I come to you with one of the most closely guarded secrets of the Cold War. The role of America in supporting Afghan warlords, or the Mujahideen, who ultimately went on to form the Taliban. In December 1979, when the Cold War was at its peak, the Soviet Union decided to invade Afghanistan under the pretext of upholding the Soviet-Afghan Friendship Treaty of 1978. America could not help but fling itself into the conflict and support the Afghan Mujahideen to safeguard its interests. This is the official story. At that time, the American people were completely unaware that their government, together with the British Secret Service, the MI6, had begun training and funding Islamic extremists, including the man who destroyed the Twin Towers in New York, Osama bin Laden. Many dismiss this as a conspiracy theory. It's not. In 2005, British Foreign Secretary Robin Cook himself admitted in writing that Osama bin Laden was a product of a monumental miscalculation by Western security forces, that he was armed by the CIA and funded by America's Western allies to fight the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. These claims were reiterated by Benazir Bhutto, the slain Prime Minister of Pakistan, and Prince Bandar bin Sultan of Saudi Arabia. They both publicly acknowledged that Osama bin Laden was a product of American spy agencies. So the US helped Osama bin Laden and his fighters, and the Western media sang praises of his operations. It was around the same time that the concept of jihad, or holy war, found its way into the global lexicon. Media reports backed the Mujahideen. They portrayed Soviets as Christians who were trying to defile Islam. The term Mujahideen itself broadly translates to an Islamic struggle, a struggle bankrolled by the Americans who wanted to turn Afghanistan into the Soviet Union's Vietnam. As for the Soviet occupation, it lasted for a decade, and throughout this period, the CIA kept expanding its program, codenamed Operation Cyclone. Washington funneled millions of dollars to the Mujahideen with the help of Pakistan. In 1980, the Carter administration allocated $30 million. In 1985, the Reagan administration allocated $250 million. And by 1987, annual American aid to the Mujahideen had reportedly reached $630 million. The money was flowing. What about the weapons? Initially, America was against supplying weapons, primarily because it wanted to keep the operation covert. Also because it feared that other countries would access its technology. But in March 1985, President Reagan's national security team formally decided to switch its strategy and began providing the Mujahideen with the Stinger anti-aircraft missile. Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, the ISI, controlled the distribution and transport of these weapons into the war zones. They would arrive at the port of Karachi, be taken to depots near Rawalpindi and Quetta, and smuggled across the Afghan border. By 1989, when the last Soviet soldier walked out of Afghanistan, America had funneled $20 billion into Afghanistan in arms and ammunition. $20 billion. Then the Soviet Union disintegrated, the Cold War ended, and with it, America's appetite for funding the Mujahideen also ended. It dropped Afghanistan like a hot potato. The country became the very picture of chaos. You see, the Mujahideen had many factions. They worked together till the US supported them. When the US left, they began fighting each other. Civil war followed. It destroyed most of Kabul. And from this civil war emerged a young group of Mujahideen in Kandahar. They portrayed themselves as an army of Robin Hood. They said their purpose was restoring peace and justice. They called themselves the Taliban, meaning students. It's a word in the Pashto language. But whose students were they? The Taliban were former Mujahideen who worked for the United States but had become disillusioned with the internal disputes. So they moved to Pakistan to study at Islamic seminaries, mainly the Deobandi School of Islam. The US played no direct role in this. In the formation of the Taliban, yes. But the Taliban flourished mainly due to the environment created by the Americans, and there's no denying this. An environment that justified the cause of Islamic extremists, of picking up arms to protect their faith and country. The Americans taught them to do this. The Taliban, or students, only implemented those lessons. They grew into the most potent force in Afghanistan. Afghans who were tired of the Mujahideen's excesses and infighting embraced the Taliban when they first emerged. They relied on this group to restore peace and wipe out corruption. This allowed the Taliban to gain power, to enforce an austere version of the Sharia law. But from here, things went downhill. They took Afghanistan to the Stone Age. And the US, which had helped create this monster, simply watched on. It woke up only when the monster struck home. Osama bin Laden, with the protection of the Taliban, carried out the 9/11 attacks, the biggest and the most horrific terror strike the world had ever seen. More than 2,900 people were killed. The attack shook the US. It asked the Taliban to hand over Osama. The Taliban refused. What did Washington do? Invaded Afghanistan with this promise.
And now, the Taliban will pay a price.
The US promised to make the Taliban pay. But look at what they did. They dethroned the Taliban to replace it with the Taliban. At what cost? 20 years of war, $3 trillion spent, 2,300 American soldiers killed, 75,000 Afghan soldiers and Americans killed, and this superpower fled in the dead of night. They could not root out the Taliban. They could not dismantle the terror networks. They could not even rebuild Afghanistan. Now, Joe Biden says that was never the aim, but he must listen to what his predecessors said. Doesn't help his case.
The Afghan people, as you stand up, you will not stand alone. It establishes the basis for our cooperation over the next decade, including shared commitments to combat terrorism and strengthen democratic institutions. It supports Afghan efforts to advance development and dignity for their people.
For a moment, let's put their hypocrisy and lies aside and understand why the US failed in Afghanistan. I could think of several reasons. First of all, America was fighting the wrong enemy. It went after the Taliban, while the root cause of the problem was Pakistan. There's stark evidence of the ISI's involvement every step of the way, giving the Taliban both financial and military training. The Americans knew it, but acknowledged it too late. Reason number two, failing to understand the Afghan context. The US went to war without understanding the social, economic, and political dynamics of Afghanistan. It tried imposing formal rule of law in a country that addresses most of its disputes through informal means. It tried forcing Western models on Afghan institutions. It trained Afghan forces in weapon systems they could neither understand nor maintain. Money cannot buy everything. The US learned this the hard way. Reason number three, America's endless appetite for wars. Barely a year after it invaded Afghanistan, the US diverted its attention to Iraq, which it insisted was a greater threat. This shift allowed the Taliban to regroup and to resume the war against US-led NATO forces. Reason number four, legitimizing the Taliban. Talks and terror don't go hand in hand, but for the US they do. In 2011, the Obama administration allowed the Taliban to move to Qatar and establish a diplomatic office to hold what they called peace talks. Where is the peace? This move made the Taliban feel like winners. A terror group was allowed to negotiate on its own terms. The US messed up even in its withdrawal from Afghanistan. It first called the troops back, allowed the Taliban to gain turf, left its weapon systems unattended, and is now trying to evacuate Afghans in danger. But the US did no such thing. It allowed Afghanistan to crumble into a pile of broken promises. All of this could have been avoided. The gut-wrenching scenes at Kabul airport, the harrowing images of bodies falling from skies, of Afghan men scaling up walls to flee, of Afghan women handing their babies to soldiers, of security forces shamefully surrendering to the Taliban, all of this could have been avoided. America's botched-up retreat from Afghanistan is criminal. This is Joe Biden's legacy. He presided over the demise of a superpower.